stronger, I think, force or movement to make change. But what's important is that there's both that are going on at the same time. That we have people on the inside who I can say, Mohammed, I have 100 students, and they may not be comfortable going to student government, but I have 100 students waiting, and this is what we need, and these are their statements, because I know them. And then he also, as someone who has constituents, will need to rely on these community leaders to be able to organize people. So I think that there's different models, and there's different personalities, and there's different socioeconomic situations. And so for me, the point is that regardless of ethics and morals, what your personal ones are, because we have, different versions up here of what we think what's ethical and moral. But what's important is that they all serve a purpose, and they all work together, and they're not value-based where one's better than the other. It's about where you fit in to that larger scheme.
Thank you. At this point, we'd like to open the floor for any questions. You may be directed to a panelist or to the whole panel. And before we move on to the next round of questions.
I think we can change, everyone should ask at least one question.
Yeah, sure. At the end?
Make it better.
Yeah, first of all, I want to recognize you guys for everything you guys do for the community, because I feel like community is the community, and I see that you guys do a lot for us, and I appreciate everything. And second, I want to direct my question to Shalanda, because I feel, my question is to you is that during all your struggles of trying to become a leader, how did you manage dealing with all the adversity and all the tasks that you had to do to maintain high GPA at a Phi Beta Kappa standard between all your other academics?
Discipline, to be very honest. There's no real easy answer. I had to force myself. So as another student said, I had a family at home. So I wasn't able to always take advantage of being here and sitting in the library. Once my classes were over, I didn't get homework. I used to, at the time in corrections, I literally used to get off work at 7 o'clock in the morning and come straight to school at 9. And my first class would leave here at 4 o'clock and be completely sacked. But I had children at home that were waiting for me to go home and feed them and so forth. So I stood up many of nights studying, getting very restless, hour, 2 hours of sleep, and even that most. But more so at that time, it wasn't just for me. So the goal was, as I stated earlier, I knew what the PTK requirements were. I knew this is my first, interest in college, and I'm trying to keep up with the grades. And sometimes you're extremely tired and things just seem overwhelming at times, but you just get tired of reading. Let's be realistic, okay? There were times that I would do things and I'm like, okay, I do not want to read anything else at this point. But me having sons at home who knew both sides of the world, and to be very realistic, who knew the streets and knew school, there was no way that I could not show them, if I can't get up and go to work and go to school and sit down and study and show you that there's a sacrifice in it. I'm your leader at home. So that means that when I step out these doors, as tired as I am, I have to show you that this is where the sacrifice comes in. You understand? So if that meant, okay, you guys are gonna have to help me out a little bit at home and take over with the cooking since I need to go to the math lab, or I need to sit down and do some, tutoring with a professor, there was a longevity goal, and that was something that had to be constantly reinforced. But would I tell you that it was easy? Absolutely not. But it became easier because the routine started to get implemented. So now everyone around me got familiar with, Shalanda's at school, do not call, do not bother me during those hours. My phone is on airplane mode. I'm gonna be in the office, in the Leadership Academy, talking with the other students and finding out what's going on, or we're doing study groups, or, having one-on-ones with Jason and sitting in his office literally and crying and saying, I am just tired, is what they tell you in society is really realistic. They tell you you're supposed to go to school, but then you're hearing students say, well, they go to school, they graduated, and they still don't have a job after this. So you have all these things that's arising, and then I have my parents to sit and tell me, never mind all of that. focus on what you're supposed to do. If you're doing what you're supposed to do, everything else will fall right into place. And that's exactly what happened.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, please.
As a student, I think reading and writing skills are some of the most important. And some of the community people in this community don't take it that serious. How would you guys promote literacy among the students here at Hostos?
Ms. Lucia, please.
I'd love to start. I want to be a professor, and I've been working as a writing fellow here at Conference. And I can't tell you how many students will say, I can't write, I can't write, I can't write, I can write, but will talk all day long, right? Communicate. And so what reading and writing is, and why it's so important, is because it's communication, and it teaches you communication skills. And we have, in this neighborhood, in this community, we have folks who maybe don't put enough emphasis on reading and writing, but culturally, musically, artistically, spoken word, music, drawing, painting, we have that in abundance. So how can we, as a bilingual college, not only think about bilingualness being between two languages, but bilingualness being between two modes of communication? So one of the things that one of the exercises I have people do when they say, I can't write about something, oh, I don't know, I can't write about that. I'll talk your head off about it for half an hour, but I can't write about it. Is I'll have them, most people have some kind of phone with some kind of recording device. Record yourself and then type up those words. Start there. As a writer, we know how many rewrites do we have to do?
5.
At least, right? And so it's the same thing. This is a rewrite. This is a brainstorm. But if you can explain something to me verbally, I will not accept that you cannot write it. Because all it is community. If you can paint me a picture about something, if you can write a song, if you can write a poem.
So you think we should promote that since you're able to communicate, you're able to write?
Yeah, I think you
Tell
should.
them they're wonderful at talking, so they want to write and be motivated to write.
Or anything, And I think writing and reading has a stigma because it's academic, but academia is another language.
So I think it's the most important skill to have when you won't be able to pass anything you can't do.
Absolutely.
Ms. Shalala.
Let me just say to you, from my experience, okay? When I was in Hostos, I thought, hey, I can write, there's no problem. I very rarely had it. I was told any grammar issues. I got to law school, and it was like, really? Okay. And you're kind of going over that all over again. So my point is like, where you think you're at in writing, I believe that's a skill that always has to be brushed up on. That's number one. Number two, and I don't want to say necessarily that I disagree with my panelists here, because I do agree, but I disagree to a certain extent. And when I say I disagree, and obviously we agree to disagree, is I feel like students, I believe you said earlier something about public speaking, and I recall taking public speaking here as well. I think it's a lot easier for us to communicate verbally and get our point across because there's a certain bond that you have with your peers where it's a level of understanding. But it's not always easy for us. Like if you ever sit in class and you hear your professor saying something, you're like, I got it. Oh, yeah, I know what I'm saying. And then when you raise your hand or they call on you, you're completely lost. You know what I mean? Because now you've lost your whole train of thought. I think that's something that just has to constantly be worked on. I don't think there's necessarily even a perfection in that because you have people who are writing books today, different professors and they're publishing things, but they're still working on their writing. And I think that as long as when you say, how can we help the students of Hostos with regards to that, and you take advantage of what's here. And when you move on, you take advantage of what is there. You just have to sit and constantly work on these things.
I find that English teachers do promote it, the writing lab, tutoring, and they're not taking advantage. So what can you do?
When you say they, you mean the students are not?
Students are not taking advantage of the resources for writing, especially for writing.
I'm sorry. I'm going to say this and let her speak. As far as students not taking advantage,
We know it's there, but how do we motivate them to get there?
their grades will motivate them to go. That's being realistic. Their grades will motivate them. I mean, unfortunately, it's like anything else, you can't drag a horse to water. You can promote it, but.
Do you mind if I decline?
As a student still here in Hostos, I mean, student government promotes, the English department promotes, and the college-wide center promotes, and Office of Student Activities promotes. The thing is that we can only promote so much, but if the students don't want to help themselves, then we are not in control of that. I mean, it's basically, it falls on them. I mean, we do all the promotion that we need to do. There's many different activities that are done, but like Shalanda says, it's their grades are kind of motivated. If they really want to pursue that, then they will do whatever it takes to learn how to, not learn, but to perfect and master your writing and reading.
What about easy people to motivate when they're self-motivated? You don't have to try.
You have to do a target, a strategic targeting of the population that you want to target in terms of what group of students it is. We can talk in detail more. I'm going to let you.
I think when you come here, this is you time. Whatever you choose to do here is what you're gonna leave out with here. Like when I first left here, I left here with skills that when I went on to City College, that helped me a lot. And if you want help, you're gonna go get it. Like I'm in City College now, I'm a part of the Student Support Services Program, which is a tutoring program. You sign a contract, you go every week to tutoring. Ms. Hillary Salter, I'm working on a portion of mission statement for this guidance honors program now, and she's like, no, Jaquana, like you're not developing your thought. So I'm taking a writing workshop class, and the professor's like, no, get a book, get a plain notebook, and write out all your thoughts. That's how you become a better writer. It's self-motivated. It's you motivating yourself when you're here to take advantage of what you need to do and to grow as a person. Not everybody's gonna grow in the journey while you're here. You just have to worry about you. And if you have people that are with you, fine. If they're not, then that's fine too.
Thank you. Julie?
Sorry. I had a comment on what you mentioned before. That you're saying that there's a need to motivate students about getting their grade up. But when I first came here, I'm Hispanic, you know. When we learned the language, it's hard for us. When I came to tutoring once, they had shown them, you know what, this is what I did. I don't know what's wrong, what's right. They like, just look at it and you know. I mean, if I'm bringing it to you, it's because I don't know. They just keep looking at me so I can find my errors, but I'm not going to be able to find this out here. I just write what I thought was right, and then just kept looking at it.
That's based on one person's reaction. You can't hold me, am I correct? Stop me if I'm correct, that was a tutor, correct? That you was with? Okay, so that was based on one tutor's reaction, which meant at that point, what you should have done is went in, okay, you want to,
No, I did. I went to this person and I tried to go to another person that did the same exact thing.
Well, that's when you go to student
And then I
government.
mean, like,
You know,
what's the point to go to tutoring if they're not going to help me out?
I
And I'm
agree
going to
with
just
that.
bring it myself the way it is. It's just what I did. Right?
See, this is, okay. I completely agree with you. I don't disagree with you at all. But I think this is one of the reasons, like, we have a panel that you're sitting right here, right now, and you hear them saying the different positions they're in. He's in student government. This is what they do. They're here to advocate for you. So imagine if that's how you felt, there's probably hundreds of other students that felt that same way too, but it's going to take you to come up and speak to them and inform them, because that means that something needs to be revamped in that particular area, because there's no way a student should be able to reach out for help or assistance, and that's what they're being told. You understand? And that means maybe the staff needs to be revamped. However, but that's why you have that.
But to piggyback on something that you said, what I also see is that in a lot of like, I'm at City now, we have like a little small tutoring group, and those are more effective. And you have to realize the writing centers have high volumes of students. They see lots of paper. They're not like, this tutor told me, I'm not there to help you develop your ideas. I'm here to help you to become a better writer. If you read over what you wrote, he's like, that's fine. Last semester, I was like, oh my God, what was I doing for 2 years here? When I got, every paper that I had for the first 4 or 5 papers were all scribbled up with errors, so many grammatical errors. And he sat there and he's like, listen, Jaquana, this is the steps that I want you to take. And every week, we sat down every week for 15 minutes and we worked through it. And if you don't like the tutor, find somebody else. That's how I feel about it. You gotta fix, you gotta work on what works for you as a student.
Thank you. We'll take one question in the back, and we'll ask a couple more questions to the panel, and then we're gonna open the floor again. Sir?
It's actually more an observation and a piggyback. So my observation was, as an administrator, I would say, I would just thought that you weren't interested in what the classes had to say, not just to call you out. But I would say that that's what leadership is about. That if you're there and you have a problem with something and you want an answer for something, and you can accept one person in N of 1 or an N of 2 who didn't give you what you needed, and you accepted that as, okay, well, I'm done, then I would say that's on you, that's your responsibility, all right? If you're focused that I want this, I need this answer, I want to get better at this, you're not giving it to me, I'm going to find someone else who will. And so then that's when you go and look at what resources you have, whether it's student government, another writing center, another graduate CUNY center, whatever. But you don't accept no until you get the answer that you want. And to me, that's what we're here for. It's called leadership. The difference between just being a student or a student leader. And so, and I think I heard someone up here just echo it, I'm not sure which one, but if you felt that way, I know darn well that there are other students that have walked into that center, experienced the same type of reaction or similar reaction from that tutor or tutors, and then walked away, and that issue obviously is still there because it hasn't been corrected by somebody else who can advocate on your behalf. And so I would say that's leadership, and that's an opportunity for you to say, there's a problem here, and I need to do something about it to solve it or rectify it so that it doesn't happen to other people's as well.
Thank you. Now, before we go into more, I'd like to ask each panelist, since the keynote speaker emphasized ethics, morality, and character is defined as who you really are, I would like to know so that we get an idea, since some of us are still working on our character, I myself am working on developing my own character. So what is one thing that you can say defines your character? What would be that one thing that defines your character?
Very simple. I'm very strong. I'm very, very strong-minded. It's really hard to deter me from something. I have a very strong character in that instance. I don't know if it was because I was an officer. I don't know. That just kind of makes who I am. And anyone in this school that knows me, you believe me, you can clarify with them that I know how to stand my ground when it comes to certain things. But again, that's something that had to be developed throughout my life.
I like the word audacious. I like to do things bold. I'm learning new vocabulary as a part of, I'm doing a writing workshop, so I'm learning new vocabulary. And I like to do things that are bold and shocking sometimes, but shocking in a good way. Change is good. Change is never bad. When you find things to better yourself, that's not bad. That's one thing change scares a lot of people, but it's never bad, it's always good.
I have two things. One is honesty, the other one is judgment. The honesty is because in everything that I do, I go to my classes, I'm honest to my school and to my career. I make decisions for students. When I do, I'm honest to those decisions and I'm honest to the students. So it incorporates to everything that I do in my life. I just incorporate honesty into it. It just helps me to just stay away from just making unethical decisions, because every decision I weigh against it, but I do it in the other decision if I'm doing something else. It just helps me keep on the straight path. The judgment is when you are given multiple options, you have to make a judgment on which one is the right and which one is wrong. And when you are representing student, big institution like CUNY, where you have close to 271,000 degree-seeking students, and your yes and no counts. Yes and no counts because any policy that you say yes or no to, it affects students at a greater level. So the judgment really helps, and sometimes you have to make decisions on your feet. Like you have to make a decision right then and there, and sometimes you sit with your executive board, sometimes you do a forum and panel, and just you talk to students. So these are the two things that I carry on with me wherever I go.
Okay, Charles?
I would say committed and I would just say determined, actually. Everybody starts out in student government or student whatever have you. It could be activism, it could be student club, it could be whatever leads you to your own version of what it is to be a student leader. You start out with an idea of what that is. And I would just say that you stick with that idea, that you know what it is that defines you and your character and what it is that you set out to do when you set out to make these goals for yourself. And you don't compromise yourself and you don't bend to pressure or, you know what I mean? Because there's going to be a lot of times, like you said, in those situations where you be on a committee or you'll be in a meeting where your opinion may be the least popular opinion in the room. It doesn't make it the wrong opinion. It just means that certain people don't agree with you, and that's fine. You got to be willing to let your yes be a yes, let your no be a no. And if you say that you're going to do something for somebody, then you stand by your word and you do your best to do it. And if you can't do it, then you make sure you come back to that person and say, okay, I couldn't accomplish what it is that you asked me to do, and here's why. But you never just leave them with a sense of you forgot about them or you don't care about whatever their issue is. Because sometimes in student activism or leadership or whatever, like I said, it comes in many different forms, people will ask you to do things on their behalf, or a ton of students will ask you to do things on their behalf. And you may go into it feeling like it's something that you can accomplish. And maybe for whatever reason, maybe it's the administration, maybe it's the policy that you weren't aware of, maybe it's something, whatever it is, that blocks you from getting to whatever that goal is. You gotta be willing to either fight through it, find a new way around it, find a new way over it, or if you have to, if there's no way around it, be willing to say, hey, okay, I gave it my best goal. Unfortunately, I couldn't get this done, or I couldn't get it done to maybe the degree that you wanted me to, but I did put in the effort, and here's why not. But always just be honest about what your situation is, and always just, be determined that once you commit to something, you see it through to the end, as best you can. Thank you.
Empathetic, to me, is really important in showing empathy because, and not that, not if the shoe was on the other foot kind of empathy, but the kind of empathy that says, I know what it feels like to not feel comfortable with writing. So how can I figure out how to make students more comfortable with their own voice? And how can I come up with assignments that allow students to have their voice or empower students to have their voice? Because I know what it feels like to not feel confident in that way. And so empathy for me is just really, really important. And it's something that I try to go to even when I'm frustrated with people and why won't you just do something? But then I think there have been times where I haven't wanted to do something, and what has it been that's motivated me? And then how can I reassess whatever situation I'm in to then motivate other people?
Thank you. Well, I'll have to put my 2 cents in this one. Perseverance is something that seems to resonate a lot, and even though I'm 19 and I'm barely starting, I've been from where I am right now, the things that I've been experiencing since I started college, I've been able to kind of shape myself into something that I saw myself like years ago, and I've been able to kind of live by the standards that I set myself when I was in high school. And I would say that one thing that will define my character and everyone's character, it will be the things that you do when no one is looking. Because you are who you really are when no one is looking. And that's what character is about. Because you can put a face in front of a crowd and you can put a face in front of anyone. But you always send the way to see yourself in the mirror. And you know that, even though nobody is looking at you, you know who you really are. And that can only last so long before the truth comes out. So I will say that my character is defined by what I do when nobody's looking. Behind closed doors, I have the integrity to say that I am the person who I am, that I project myself to be in front of people. So I'd like to open the floor again for any more questions. Jeremy, any question?
How you doing, everybody? So my question is for you, Rosie. Okay, you mentioned about community, you know, like helping people around especially the youth. Okay, well, I serve in the church community within the music ministry, and I've also served in the disability issues community while studying here though at Hostos Community College. My question is that what can I do, or what resources do I need in order to open a community center or like a foundation where I can, you know, like give back to kids in order to help these kids, as well as young adults, just to get off the streets and explore things such as music and improving literacy, just like you mentioned before. Do I need to have like people in order to get together, or when do I start basically?
Well, the question could be answered in, I don't know, a couple months.
No,
But
yeah,
I think,
years.
years.
If
But
you're talking about center by means 501c3, that like a nonprofit, that would take years.
But I think what's important, and what I think you're asking the right question. How do I do it? What do I do? And you've been involved in various things doing that. So I think in terms of strategy, you know, if this is something, this is like a lifestyle that this is a life goal. And so strategy, I would suggest maybe coming up with like a 3-month plan, 6-month plan, 1 month, 1 year, and 5 years, because 501c3 takes time, but you also need to then build a relationship with a fiscal sponsor. But it sounds like, I mean, I know you personally slightly, so I know that you do a lot of work with your church. So that's where you start. You build community. I mean, I think one of the things that is most natural about humans is community. And I think that we try to, you know, the way that cities are built and the way that public space and private space is negotiated attempts to sever communities, but I think that it's naturally inherent for folks to gravitate towards each other and to build. And so I think you're on the right track, and I think that coming to things like this and asking these types of questions and continuing to have that as a goal is how you're going to do it. And you need to logistically come up with like step 1, I need to do this. Step 2, step 3, step 4. That'll give you a plan. But the fact that you're thinking about things is what's important, and the fact that you have that mindset and have that goal and have that lifestyle. That's the stuff that can't be taught. You know, people can go to social work school, but having that frame of mind is not a chapter. You can't read a chapter and learn that, and you already have that. And so that's really what's important.
Thank you. Mohammed? Are you senior at Hostos, or is this your first or second year?
No. This is I started in 2009. This is my 4th year.
So your church is around this area?
No. Lower East Side in downtown Manhattan.
So what you also can do is you can partner with any CUNY school that's close to it. You can start a club and take leadership in a club, and then you can test your idea through a club. You'll have a funding from student government, from University Student Senate to test your idea. You'll have students from around you to serve the community. The beauty of CUNY is that we are public university, so you can use the space on campus to serve the community. That's what the Scholarship Group Center was serving the community. So you can use that space and test your idea, and then you can house that into a church. You can have a fiscal sponsor, and that's just if you really want to turn it into a 501c3. Then you have a pro bono lawyers who can help you get the 501c3 status, because it comes with a lot of funding. But if you really want to test the idea, find out what's the closest CUNY school to the church or to your community where you want to provide the service. Start your own club. Now is a good time because everyone will be registering new clubs. Start new club, get your funding, and test your idea. Find like-minded people who really want to help the community around. And once you get out of it, CCNY Columbus School has a fellowship, community development fellowship. It's a fellowship where you create a program within your community to serve the community. So that's a fellowship for youth like you to go in the community, figure out what the need is in the community, and they'll support you with the resources. They have a great amount of resources. All school, and we'll connect afterwards.
Thank you. Seeing that we are 1 minute over time, they're asking us to go to the gym, but I'll take one last question from Monica Silver.
I didn't have a question. All I was going to say was that adding a little bit to what he was asking for. I often think that we should start everything. We should be the ones that start an organization, a non-profit. But what we don't look into is that there's so many other organizations already open that are working on the same issues. So instead of doing that before you start, look for those organizations that are already working on those issues and join them. Create that community, make that community bigger, and get more people involved and help them.
Okay, and to sort of just wrap it up and then get the students involved in this broader way of asking this, it will be what recommendations do you have for any students who might want to pursue a leadership role on their campus, their community, or their universities? Chikman, would you like to
You have to be the people that have the same vision as you. You don't need anybody in your circle that's going to say yes to everything. That's just not going to work. You need somebody who's going to say, listen, I like your idea, but this is how we should do it. Or this is how we should take a spin. You don't need anybody on your team who's going to be like, well, like a little puppy going, yes, 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 yes. That doesn't work when you're trying to do a vision. You need people who's going to tell you like it is and continue with you.
Thank you.
You really make sure that you really want to do it, and you have to have the passion and the fire in your stomach that you want to do it. When I started student government, I lost 3 times in a row, and then I won. And it's the persistence, and it's that hunger to accomplish and just keep going, and success will follow you no matter. You just keep moving, and you'll see the things falling in place. Like your question, the struggles. You just gotta feel that you have to do it, and that's the only option. You have that hunger to accomplish, and just passion to keep moving forward. And you'll see that those people will come around who will keep supporting you if you are on the right track. You'll find the like-minded people in the same circle. Because the people who are not the like-minded or who are pulling you down, if you are so determined, they'll just fall off. So you just gotta be that person. Just keep pulling yourself forward, because there will be other people pushing you back, but you gotta pull yourself forward.
Thank you. Would anybody else from the panel like to?
I would say look around your campus, see what's there, see what clubs interest you, see what student government is like. Learn about your campus and what's going on in your campus and student leadership, and then see where you fit in. And if you don't see something that works for you, or you don't see something that's on your campus that's already there, then start it. That's what they have student clubs for. That's what they have these things, and so that when you don't see what you want, or your vision of what you feel like it is on your campus, then it's your opportunity to change what is there, to create what you want to see. And most likely, there's a lot of people like you that want that same thing. They just need someone to be the first. And sometimes that's all it takes. It's just you saying, okay, well, I want this club, or I want that club, and it's not here, so how do I go about it? Let me go to student life. Let me find out what it takes. What does it take to create what I want to see? So become the change that you want on your own campus, or like she said, seek out what's already there and join it, and learn about it and become better leaders that way. So you only become a better student leader through practice and trial and whatever, it's like she said. So the only way to enhance your skills as a student leader is to be a student leader consistently and keep really open-minded and willing to learn.
Thank you. With that, we'd like to conclude. If you have any more questions, we can wait until the end of the ceremony, and we can please thank them. And we'll move to the gym now, and I think the final remarks and Matt is going to happen. So,